Proceedings have adjourned today in the Sri and Dewani trial in the Western Cape High Court. Our reporter Roy McKenzie has been sitting through proceedings and he's here to talk us through what happened today. Roy, quite a significant day today because it almost signals the end.
Very much. The state has wrapped up its case, which is kind of a big milestone in the case. So what's now going to happen is the defense has argued that the case should not continue. So they have applied for a Section 174 dismissal. So what they're going to argue is that the evidence that has been presented in court thus far is not strong enough to convict him on. So it was quite a short day today because they stood up and they said that they will file heads of argument by the close of business on Wednesday.
That's the defense?
Yeah, the defense will file their argument as to why the case should be dismissed on Wednesday, and then on Friday the state, the prosecution, will have their turn to file their heads of argument as to, obviously they will counter that argument and they will argue why the case should continue. The judge will then have the weekend to decide, and then next Monday, so a week from now, she will announce her decision. So significantly, it could be the end of the trial next Monday, or it could carry on, and then the defense will have to continue and call their witnesses and continue with the case.
Now, it's obvious that we can't determine what Judge Traverso will rule, but we've certainly seen that she's not been very light on the state throughout proceedings. So lots of people are saying, especially on social media, that this is probably the end now.
I think so. I think the public opinion is very much that the state's case has not been strong enough. And if you think about it, I mean, I think we're all slightly legal experts now, having sat through the Oscar Pistorius trial, and we all know, convicting someone beyond, you have to have a conviction beyond reasonable doubt. You can't send an innocent man to prison, but you also can't send someone to prison when the evidence is not quite strong enough to convict him. And I think that's very much what's going to happen here, because having sat through it and you having observed it, the state's key witnesses, who were the alleged hitmen, or the hitmen, they lied under a cross-examination and under oath. They were seen to be there was a lot of inconsistencies. They were not seen to be credible witnesses. So it's essentially going to come down to their word against Dewani's word, and it's going to be very difficult to accept all of their evidence and convict him on that. And that's really what it boils down to.
If this case is thrown out entirely, does the state have the opportunity to appeal, or will that be the end?
I would imagine they would, because, like we can see in the Oscar Pistorius case, another judge might come to a different opinion. So, and she has, as you said, been quite harsh on the state. So they might actually want to have another judge, look at the evidence and admit a lot of the evidence that she disallowed, for instance, his sexuality. But I don't know if the state's key sort of angle is going to be strong enough, regardless of which judge it is, because essentially when you have witnesses who are not entirely credible, it's going to be very difficult for any judge to come with a different decision.
Of course, bearing in mind that this has a time frame on it, Sri and Dewani's here on an extradition order, and the UK government may not be kind in sending him back and forth for appeals. Exactly.
So I think they really want to just wrap it up, and potentially he could be going home next Monday. There's no reason to keep him if the case is dismissed. I mean, they would have to really argue. It would obviously be pending an appeal, but they would have to really justify why they think a different court and a different judge would come to a different decision. So I think the very big thing is that the attention is going to be focused on the NPA, because they spent a huge amount of our taxpayers' money on extradition proceedings in the UK. So that was big money on lawyers in the UK, a private jet to fly him out here. They did this all on the assumption that they had a watertight case, and that has just crumbled. So there's going to be a lot of questions, and that's what I really want to know, is how they could have gone to those lengths on the assumption that their evidence would be admitted, and if it wasn't, then did they not have a backup plan? Did they not reconsider that this might end up like this? So it's going to be interesting.
Now, Roy, the Hindocha family commemorated 4 years since Annie's passing quite recently, and they were obviously very emotional about it. Have they given any indication in court about their feelings towards this, or are they still mum on the whole issue?
Look, they don't really talk to the media. That was, they're not talking. But it was interesting to watch them when proceedings wrapped up today, and wrapped up very quickly. I mean, court hardly sat. And they certainly didn't look very happy. They left court quite quickly, and I think there was a very, a great sense of disappointment that the state's wrapped up its case and there isn't anything else. There are no other witnesses that can prove anything more to show that he is guilty. So for them, I think it was quite a blow, and you could see it.
That's News 24's Roy McKenzie. You can follow him on Twitter and stay tuned to News 24 Live. We've got all your latest Dewani video news.